The train headed for Station Square will be departing soon.
Oh, hello. My name is Gremlin615, and today I want to talk to you about the Regal mystery movie that played on the 4th of March 2024. And that movie was One Life. London broker Nicky Winton helps rescue over 600 of predominantly Jewish children from Czechoslovakia in a race against time before the Nazi occupation closes the borders. 50 years later, he's still haunted by the fate of those he wasn't able to bring to safety. Rated PG. Before we get started, I want to express my disappointment with Regal Cinemas. These mystery movies are supposed to be unreleased films. However, One Life was released in over 14 different countries prior to the showing on March 4th. It was even shown at film festivals back in September 2023, which makes sense so it can get more backers for a more wide release, but it's already being shown in multiple countries around the world. I find that this goes against the spirit of the mystery movies because they're supposed to be unreleased and before the official release date. I really hope that this doesn't become a trend for future movies. This movie stars Anthony Hopkins as Nicholas or Nicky Winton. While Anthony Hopkins is known for his powerful and involved performances, his performance in this movie is more guarded and stoic. The movie tries to explain this as being a type of defense mechanism that Nicky uses to prevent himself from remembering the tragedies of his youth. However, we the viewer are often left out of these experiences, and this stoic behavior can come off as pretty uninteresting. Now, the younger version of Nicky Winton is played by Johnny Flynn. Johnny gives a mostly steady performance, but there seems to be some type of disconnect with the emotional aspect of the film. While he talks about being impassioned about helping these children, it's the way he says it and his mannerisms that just don't relay that type of emotion. It doesn't really feel that genuine. Lena Olin plays the wife, Greta Winton. She's a solid wife character who helps her husband move through and move on with his emotional baggage. When she was first introduced in the movie, I thought she was going to be playing his daughter, just because of how much younger she looks than Anthony Hopkins. Now, they are 18 years apart in age, which is a pretty big number. I mean, it's the difference between somebody in their 60s and somebody in their 80s. However, in real life, the husband and wife were 10 years apart. Rounding out the cast is Helena Bonham Carter, playing Nicky's mother, Babby Winton. She's one of the more involved side characters in the story. She assisted her son Nicky by helping raise money, finding foster families, and even taking over some letter campaigns. Bobby is shown to be a no-nonsense, quick-talking, quippy woman who is dedicated to help her son save these children. It's not necessarily a standout performance, but she does fulfill her role sufficiently. Our story starts with an older Nicky Winton collecting coins for charity. His house is full of memorabilia, paperwork, photos, and documents from his years and years of charity work. But the story will focus on the boxes of paperwork that relate to Prague before the onset of World War II. His wife Greta convinces him to go through these boxes of documents to decide what he should keep, what he should get rid of, and what he could donate to a university or scholarship program. As Nicky goes through these items, we get to see his memories in the form of flashbacks. These time jump transitions from the late 1930s to the late 1980s are done in an okay way. There's nothing really creative about them, but they get the job done. The flashbacks to the 1930s felt visibly accurate and authentic. However, the action in these flashbacks was pretty lacking. We're shown that there's a very important timeline of getting these children out of Prague before the Nazis invade Czechoslovakia. It is repeatedly said that this is a very urgent matter. But there's something about the pacing of this movie that just kind of sucks all that urgency right out. Like, we the viewer know that it's urgent, but the movie just kind of plods along from office to train to office, and it's lacking in that urgency department. One of my main complaints about this movie is how younger Nicky and older Nicky feel like they're just two different people entirely. Now, that can make sense because the experiences you go through when you're younger help create the person you are when you're older. But the way it's shown in this movie, it doesn't feel like older Nicky could have ever evolved from younger Nicky from these life experiences. At times, it felt like I could have been watching two different movies entirely. Young Nicky often talks about his passion for helping others, but he just isn't very charismatic about it. This brings back the idea of urgency. There's a lot of talk about urgency, but as we watch the movie, it visually doesn't feel urgent, and Nicky doesn't do anything to help that. It just felt like we were kind of missing that impassioned youth. And I also feel like that the movie didn't do a good job of showing younger Nicky's experiences to kind of justify how older Nicky behaves. Like, how did he get where he is now? Now, older Nicky does have a bit more character to work with. He's more quiet and reserved. He feels that the world should know more about this process to save the children, but he doesn't really want to be in the spotlight. He really feels that it was a group effort. He's also dealing with his feelings of failure because he wasn't able to get all of the children out of Prague. It wasn't until he met the wife of a CEO of a media agency where he finally opens up about his failure to save all the children. I feel like this happens really late in the movie, and it should have been given to us in pieces throughout the beginning. That way we can really understand why this old man is often just sitting and staring off into the distance, not saying anything. But this is the part where Anthony Hopkins really shines. During this conversation with this woman, his stoic shell really cracks, and we're allowed to see Nicky be more vulnerable about his failure to save all the children. But even with this breakthrough, it still feels like older Nicky is a different character. The visuals for this movie were mostly standard fanfare. It's not that I expect crazy shots or gravity-defying mechanics, just a little bit more creativity when it comes to filming these sequences. Like I said before, the flashback sequences were almost non-existent. It's basically just boiled down to here's a scene of older Nicky reading a book, and then bam, we're back in the 1930s. Most of these transitions were just camera cuts. Now, there was a montage sequence that was a bit earlier in the movie that showed the letter writing campaign that Nicky and his mother were working on. I felt that this sequence was very, very out of place. All the camera shots are super quick. The scenes are cut into like 1 second little blips of envelopes and letters, and stamps, and licking, and it was just too much too quickly. It felt very disjointed because no other scene in the movie had this type of camera movement. For me, it was a bit too modern of a camera style for this period piece. And now for the rating. This movie has me kind of torn and disappointed. The events that take place in this movie are an amazing display of human charitable will, but the movie itself was rather mundane and humdrum. And that is why I'm going to give the movie One Life a 6 out of 10. The movie really fails to capture what made this child rescue operation so astonishing. Sir Nicholas Winton lived an extraordinary life, and he continued his charitable work after World War II all the way to his death in 2015 at the age of 106. And I feel that that story is what's missing from this movie. So, did you see the Regal mystery movie One Life? If so, let me know all about it in the boxcar that is my comment section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can help keep this channel on the tracks. Have a good day.